Welcome back to session 4 of the JA It's My Future curriculum. Today's activity is called career mapping. The students are going to have the opportunity to think about that journey that's leading up to our future careers. What are some of those steps that we can be taking along the way? So ultimately we're going to be thinking about the end result and working backwards on how we can get there. You'll notice on the top of the page there's the introduction that again has the students imagine what they might like to do in their futures. Think about their current skills, have them think about their experiences and what qualifications it would take to get them there. We want to challenge the students to think about how even now as middle school students they can be creating ways in which to gain skills for their future and how the choices they're making today can affect their future. So what you can do to get them thinking about this is to just say, imagine you wanted to be a veterinarian in your future. What are some things that they have already done that might lead up to or might have enhanced the opportunity of being a vet in the future? Maybe they have a pet, maybe they've helped nurse an animal back to health, maybe they have walked the neighbor's dog. All of those small things can definitely be leading up to the potential of a veterinarian. So again, they might not actually want to be a vet, but that's a great example to get them thinking about how small things they're doing today can greatly affect their future opportunities as well. The talking points, again, really talk about a GPS system or a map. If you're going to go on a large journey and you Google mapped it or you put it into your GPS and it simply said drive north and figure it out, we obviously wouldn't reach our destination. So likewise with our lives and our futures, we want to make sure we know where we're going and we want to make sure that we have a path as to how to get there. So share some personal examples of some things that you did in your past that helped lead you to get where you are today in your current position or in other positions that might relate to the middle school students. What the students are going to do is they are going to consider what we call career mapping. And so what you need for today's activity are the career map posters as well as the personal maps that each student will receive. The first thing the book tells you to do is to break the students into small groups of 3 or 4 students and to give each group one of these posters. Now, I would maybe suggest not splitting the students into groups and instead doing this first portion as a large class. These posters are very large and they can take up a lot of space and they can become a distraction to the students. So what you might want to consider doing is to have this be a whole class discussion, to put a map at the front of the classroom, maybe hanging it up on the poster, hang the poster on the board. Obviously they won't be able to read it from their desks, but what you can also do is have it in your hand and as you're milling around the room, you could have them read it as well. So either way, whether you put it on the poster or whether you just hold it and carry it around the room, it's kind of a good idea to keep this whole group potentially. What you can do is have the students read some of these milestones. So what this poster is doing, it is starting down here at elementary school and it's giving them some examples of what might be a mapping position that's going to lead to an ultimate career path. So it moves into the middle school era, the high school era, and then the post-high school and ultimately their career. So what we want to get the students to think about is working backwards. So if this is the career they want to be in, what are some of those steps and milestones that they're going to need to do in order to get there? So what's really great is just, you don't have to touch on every single milestone, but these do provide some great examples to get the students thinking. So what you might want to do is have a volunteer read one of the milestones in the elementary section and then ask them, what are some of the things that you guys have done in elementary that you think might help you in your future? One thing as you're working through this is to consider what we call transferable skills. These are skills that we use today that will transfer into our future. So for example, sporting events are huge. So what can we learn being on a sports event? Maybe we learn teamwork. Maybe we learn overcoming obstacles. Maybe we learn how to be a good sport when we lose. Maybe it's encouraging someone who didn't do their best. Maybe it's having team spirit. I mean, there's all those elements that go into sports, and all of those transfer to the future. Maybe it's being the team captain and showing leadership skills, and maybe that someday leads into being a student council president, which will lead into the opportunity to be a team lead in your job position. So we want the students to think about, maybe you're not going to be a professional basketball player in your future, so they might think, well, I played basketball as a 5th grader, that doesn't matter. What did you learn? What are some of those transferable, intrinsic skills that they learned that can be carried on? So those are the themes to really bring out and enhance and guide the students into thinking along this conversation. So again, you don't have to do all of those milestones, but pick and choose a few of them. Jump into middle school, and then have them share what are some of the things you're doing today that will positively impact your future. And then have them think. Now they're dreaming of their future. So what are some of the things they would like to do in high school? What are maybe some of the things that they would appreciate? What are some clubs? What are some sporting events? What are some, part-time jobs? What are some neighborhood things that they can do that will impact their future? And then again, you want to talk about the importance of setting some of those career goals to get to their ultimate destination. Once you have that discussion, then the students can start working on their own personal map. So hopefully you've gotten some of the ideas and some of the juices flowing as you've created this conversation, and now the students get to work individually. So you want to hand out these personal maps to each student. Now I would encourage you, in preparation, I did this, and it was a good challenge for myself. I actually did this. I created this for myself, and I thought back to elementary, middle school, high school, and it was a great challenge for me to really think about real life examples that I was then able to present to the students. I don't know if I would have come up with them as much off the top of my head in the front of the class, so there should be extra of these. Grab one and consider doing this on your own first. But again, the students are going to primarily do the same thing that we did on the large poster. It's walking them through what are some of the things they've done in elementary, middle school, what are some key milestones they're going to hopefully reach in high school, and then what do they think? They might not know, but make their best guess as to what is the education, what's the trainings, what is the skills they're going to need to be able to potentially get that job in the future. So they're going to have the opportunity to work on that, and then what you can do is you can have some of the students share some of those ideas, whole group at the end. To get the juices flowing, there is a great brainstorm list on the back of the pamphlet, so be sure to highlight that, use that as some of your guiding discussion in the large poster activity, but remind the students that it's there, because those are some great ideas on what they can transfer to their actual map. And again, the emphasis on this, the thing that we want to make sure to highlight in our summary and review, is that life is really a journey. We obviously want to get somewhere that's beneficial and is successful for us. And so in order to get there, we need to have a path, and all of these little things that we're doing now can really lead to a successful future. And so they can share some of their short-term goals that they have, and I always like to challenge students to think about today, to think about this week, to think about this semester. What is one thing that you could do this week that would positively affect your future, that would positively help grow your personal brand? So challenge the students to think about some of those short-term goals. Sometimes we can think so far in the future that we lose today. So even though we're striving for the ultimate, we want to also challenge them to think about, what is something I can do today? What's something I could do at home in my family to demonstrate respect to my parents, to show teamwork to my siblings, to help the family out in a productive manner with chores? All of those little things that they do can develop a pattern and a habit for their future. Enjoy this session.